Milla Jovovich is coming in, of course.
What's up?
Star of the new Hellboy movie.
Hello.
In theaters this Friday. Very, very exciting times. What's going on?
Not much. Well, a lot.
A lot. Yeah, a huge amount, as a matter of fact.
Not much and a lot.
Right. Not much in the momentary sense.
Well, listen, I'm sitting with you fine gentlemen, so that's a lot,
That's
too.
true.
A lot of actors hate to impress. A lot of hate going in and
It's
doing
just our
interviews.
show. It's not. Most of them like
No,
the
I
other
know, but I've
shows,
told
yeah.
myself it's press in general.
I see.
Well, yeah, it's not personal, that's for sure. It's just, I think hearing yourself repeat yourself over and over is not the funnest thing in the world. And I prefer to listen to people anyway. So,
Yeah.
To hear myself talk about me is pretty boring.
Well, it's
to
hard when
myself.
When they ask you to talk about a project, it's hard because you're like, oh, it was fun. Like, there's only so much you can say about a project. It's like, what are you going to say about it? It was good.
Well, actually, I have a lot to say about Hellboy. I mean, it really is a good project. It's a lot of fun. Actually, when I was, usually when I go to see my movies, I get really kind of obsessive over myself, and that's like a very actor thing. We're like totally self-absorbed, and I can't really enjoy the movie. But this time around, for some reason, like I just went with it, and it was like so fun and so action-packed and funny, and David Harbour is just so hilarious, and everybody's so good. I really had a great time.
So, do you watch yourself and like dissect yourself, or do you love watching it?
No. I dissect myself. It's like hearing your voice. I'm gonna totally age myself. It's like hearing your voice on the answering machine, but like times 100. Because then you have to see yourself too. So
Right. That's like back in the day when you would record the message on your answering machine.
you
would just have
that
to
was
leave
my
it after
thing.
the first time.
Are you kidding?
Because if you
every
tried
10
to
minutes.
fix it, you just keep fixing it and fixing it and fixing it.
Yeah,
it would just never
our whole
sound right.
thing was like. Because before texting, obviously, like if you ran to the store, you'd be like, "I'm just running to the store. Be right back."
You
leave
do
a
that on the
message."
answering machine?
Oh yeah, like I'm in the shower. Be right back. Leave a message. I'll be out in like 3 minutes. Like literally everything you did, you had to leave an outgoing message, just reporting.
I used to try to make them funny.
You
I
did?
would do
Oh yeah,
characters.
we would totally do funny ones as well.
Yeah.
I look back though, and I don't think they were particularly funny. They
No,
were terrible.
they were awful. But,
Hokey.
but
What
to
kind of stuff
us,
would
they
you
were
do?
funny.
A reverend. Just really bad.
You'd be a reverend on your own answering machine?
Yeah, it was just embarrassing.
Like, what would you say?
Hallelujah, you called me.
It's kind of like that, yeah. But even worse than that, yeah.
Like how?
I don't remember.
But like,
I don't remember.
like if I
Well,
asked
like
you to
a
do it
little
now.
bit.
Yeah.
I just don't remember.
Like if I said, could you be a
This is the
reverend?
Reverend Jim.
Just sounds like Jim.
Yeah, that's it. With
That
the
was
word.
kind of worse than mine.
It was worse. It was certainly worse.
Yeah, I have an ability to humiliate myself that most people can't
You
reach.
should be an actor.
Oh, I've
That's
tried.
like I think that's like acting 101. Number one rule of acting is be prepared to humiliate
Do you know
yourself
any roles
over
for
and over.
any roles for 50-year-old men who blink a lot in one eye? So I'm your man.
Yeah.
Listen,
yeah.
you should have been on The Office.
I like the original better if you want the truth.
The British Office?
I do.
Stop it. You're a British Office person?
Much more.
Wow.
I've only seen a couple of the
Wow. I
Americans.
think I might have to go now.
Why
You don't like
have
the
you
British
seen
Office?
the British Office?
I mean, I like it, but the American Office is so far superior.
No,
and
it's
I'll
not.
tell you why.
Whoa.
No. And I'll tell you why.
What a
Because
hot
Ricky
take.
Gervais is just doesn't seem like a nice guy, okay, on that show. Steve Carell was like innocent. He was just oblivious, but he was like sweet.
I see.
Like,
So you
he
mean the
meant
David
well.
Brent character, which is Ricky's character, you think David is a jerk?
Yeah.
Whereas Steve
I
Carell's
was just
character,
oblivious.
he's
Well,
not
what-
a jerk. He means well.
Yeah, he means well.
I
so there's
see.
something endearing about him.
Well, David's self-centeredness is what made him so great. Like, he was so wrapped up in himself and such an
But
ass.
so is Steve Carell. He's completely self-centered, but he's endearing. He's like
nice.
a kid. He's like literally a 4-year-old always. He doesn't think about anyone but himself.
Right.
But like,
But
it's innocent.
But the way a 4-year-old does.
yes,
In the
it's
sense
not
that they
meant
don't.
to hurt. Where
Yeah.
Ricky Gervais kind of felt like he was trying to hurt you.
Right.
That's why I think you just explained why I
yes,
like the British
yeah.
Office.
Well, listen, but that's yeah. I
Because you're
guess-
not disagreeing with that, right?
Plus, they weren't as good looking in the British Office. They didn't dress quite as well. They were just, and there was
Yeah,
also.
they got more good looking as the seasons went on,
They
for
did.
sure.
And the American Office had a lot more episodes to do, but they would do like different camera things in different situations. I guess the British Office was so short.
And so I just literally did like the American Office all over again. It was hard work. It took me 3 weeks of nonstop watching to get through it, but like I had to do it. And like the finale, Like, what was up with? I mean, did you guys see the?
No,
finale?
I've seen like little moments of it. I just
like,
didn't
what
love
was
it.
up with Steve Carell? I mean, I just felt like it would have been better just not to have him at all. Because
Yeah, I think so,
it just
too.
felt so weird, like so awkward.
Why was it weird at the end?
Because he didn't do anything. He wasn't Michael Scott. He was like a pale imitation of himself, like a shadow of a man.
I'll bet that they weren't thinking about we watched that series
Like it almost
now.
felt like he was contractually obligated to be there, and that was it.
How many seasons did they do though? After
9.
Yeah, you probably after 24 episodes, if you're not, you're like, all right, enough with this.
Well, he had left
No, that's like
a
one of the
couple
greatest
seasons.
shows of all time. How could you?
No,
just
but I mean,
give up?
as him though, you might be like, I'm done doing this character. You might be sick of it after all those years.
Yeah, but still, you have a responsibility.
I
It's
agree.
Michael Scott, for
Right.
God's
David
sake. Just
Brent was
one
better.
last hurrah.
He also, I think that when that show was on, like when the American Office was on, especially towards the end, I don't think people realized how good it was in the sense that, like, I started rewatching it recently too, and just going, "Oh my God,
No,
this show
it's
ages perfectly."
Literally, like one of the most brilliant pieces of
Yeah, I just
film ever.
British
realized-
Office destroys it.
I realized in like the last month that the American Office is going to be one of those sitcoms
You know,
that's
I
around
think
forever.
by the end of this program, like no one's gonna go see Hellboy. Everyone's just gonna rewatch The Office.
You can do both. That's the beautiful thing.
Because Hellboy doesn't come out till Friday, so people are going to be sitting there
you
going
have
like,
a few days to
Right.
just like really get through The Office before
they're like,
Friday.
I'm so excited for Hellboy. I can't contain myself. It's all I'm thinking about. What am I going to do to pass the time?
The Office.
Oh, The Office is on.
Yes.
Oh, okay, I'll
Then
watch
again,
that.
on the way to Hellboy, you could watch the entire British Office and the
Yes,
finale.
it's true.
It's only 12
It's
episodes in the
true.
finale.
Yeah, it's like 3 hours of content total.
I saw something about the making of Hellboy. I forget the guy who played the lead, but they were interviewing him.
David
and they were showing
Harbour?
clips. Yeah,
Yeah.
But it actually looks really good. He was just
It's a fun film.
yeah,
it
I
really
looked
is.
enjoyable.
So I was listening to David Harbour like explain the makeup because it's far more practical effects than people realize, right? Like
Yes.
it's less CGI
Well,
than
Neil
you would
Marshall,
think.
who directed it, I mean, he's really known for his practical effects. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you watch The Descent, it's like, it's so amazing, but it's like a bunch of dudes like with masks and Vaseline all over, like
Right.
crawling around, like doing crazy stuff. But I
What's
love
the Descent?
The Descent.
Yeah, understand.
It's like one of the best horror films ever.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good.
okay.
It's
good.
really good. It's about like cave divers. Like, by the way, like who would ever do that?
It's ridiculous.
Okay,
Like
so-
ever. I mean, that's literally like one of my biggest nightmares.
Mine
is to like
too.
get
Yeah.
stuck in a crevasse in a cave like miles below the earth.
There's,
Yeah.
there's a
And
very
that's supposed to be fun. I'm like, what?
There's a photo of a guy who got stuck there, and it was some like in Utah or wherever, and he got stuck and they couldn't get him out, and all you see is his feet sticking back out of the hole, and he wound up dying in there because they couldn't pull. They
I
almost
mean,
pulled him
it's a
out, and then
nightmare.
the pulley
it's
broke.
Like literally my worst nightmare.
But you'll always watch claustrophobic movies like that, right?
Well, like you want to watch movies like that because of your innate fear of it.
Yeah.
And that's what was so great about The Descent. But yeah, so I mean, Neil comes from like a background of practical effects and like really making stuff happen on the day rather than doing it in post, which was so great. And David Harbour, I mean, he was in makeup for like 3 hours every morning and like 40 pounds of prosthetics.
That was
crazy.
going to be my question. Like I was listening to him talk about doing like he wakes up at 2:30 in the morning, goes in at 3:30 to put all his Hellboy makeup
Oh,
on. You
yeah.
guys aren't shooting
Well,
till
no, because I was saying even like a normal indie movie like about a family having dinner, you're still working 15 hours a day.
right.
You know, but add on top of that like 3-4 hours of makeup before you start work, and it's like,
So-
when do you have even time to sleep?
Can you
know?
sleep in a makeup chair when people are doing all that stuff to you, or what do you do?
Maybe when they're doing the
Yeah,
body,
I mean,
you can.
Yeah, you can. A lot of people definitely go to sleep, especially when they do like the prosthetics on the face and stuff. You got to tune out a little bit because also those suits get super claustrophobic.
Yeah.
I
Right.
mean, when you're wearing, I mean, he was talking about the fact that like there was just so much between him and like the world outside. You know, he had like so much suit on, like you can't feel anything.
Have you
know?
ever done anything with serious prosthetics, like to that extent?
I did once in the last Resident Evil, the final chapter. They aged me to be like 90 years old, and so I went through like 6 hours of prosthetics, and it was pretty crazy because I get really, obviously, we all understand from this conversation, I get super claustrophobic, but you know it takes it to another level because you're completely padded in a
Are you
way.
afraid you won't be able to breathe?
Well, definitely, like all those face casts and stuff, like they have to do like half and then on the top part and then half on the bottom because I can't do
can't
the
do the whole
face mask thing. Like I get terrified. But saying that, like I have to say it was one of the most liberating like scenes for me when I played the old lady because you have this mask on, so in a way you could do anything. Like you're just not even like worried about it. I don't know. It gave me like this sense of freedom, which was fun. And David was talking about that too, like how it was almost like this liberating feeling, like having a mask on.
Were you old through the whole movie, or was it only part of it that you needed that makeup for?
In Resident Evil,
yeah.
it was a couple of scenes. Yeah, so it was like a week out of the schedule kind of thing.
I've seen like footage when people are getting molded for the faces or whatever that they do the full face, and to the extent that there's just like a straw.
Yeah, I
sticking
had
out of
that
their
done
mouth.
once when
Crazy.
I did a movie about Joan of Arc. And it was like the old school like face masks, and they had like 2 tubes up my nose for like straws up my nose to breathe. And
how long was that for?
I mean, it's like takes like half an hour
Oh,
to
my
have
God.
this thing over your face, and I literally thought I was gonna
I would
die.
have a panic attack.
No, I was literally, my heart was racing. Once they got it off, I was like, never again.
Do you ever have that where you feel like sometimes when I'm laying in bed because I'm such a bad sleeper, I have to sit up. There's like I take a deep breath because I feel like I can't breathe deep when I'm laying on my back. I think it's just panic or perhaps bad memories. I don't know.
Yeah, that's actually
Really?
repression.
No, I just can't breathe properly like when I'm that.
No, but maybe
tense.
you should see like a doctor.
No,
about that.
no, I'm okay.
Seriously, like
Probably like a medical
you
doctor and
sit
a
up
therapist.
and you can't breathe.
No, I
think
breathe
that's a
better when I sit
problem.
up, yeah. But I mean, it's that whole claustrophobic thing. It's the fear of not being able to breathe.
No, that's why people sleep laying down. Most people can breathe fine laying down.
On my side, I'm okay.
Like that's because everybody
like lays down.
they lay
right?
down to go to sleep. It's comfortably.
Yeah, it is.
So
Once in a while, I have a problem taking a deep breath.
And it's the coffin too, probably. Like you should keep it open.
I want to be cremated. That's the worst. Is the idea of laying there and waking up and realizing, oh fuck.
yeah, what if you wake up in the cremation oven?
Well, do you guys know, like in the 1800s, they would actually put like little like pulleys and
That's right, a
bells
bell, yeah.
inside
I think they did that.
coffins, like
what
because
is it?
they buried so many people alive
The
that
nun.
they got the idea to put a bell inside. And you go, how many didn't have the bell before they finally like realized we should have a bell?
How many fingernails in coffin lids did it take before they like, let's have a bell system?
Right?
This
There
is
needs
we're
to
not
be
good
like
at
a
this.
pulley.
In the movie The Nun that came out like a few months back,
Oh, I want to see that.
it's
I saw
great,
that.
and they use that with the bell. And there's like this scene where you just hear like just little bell, and everybody else is asleep, and you're like,
oh, I want to see that.
It's good. It's
I want to
good.
see that La Llorona one too.
yeah.
Oh, that looks good.
You ever seen The
She
Vanishing?
wants your children. I love all that stuff. I'm like, my daughter was like, I keep seeing these scary things on YouTube. And I'm like, they've done this movie a million times. There's always like some late. And she's like, what do you mean? What's it about? Whose children? I'm like, everybody's children. You know, she died violently. Her kid was killed, something like that.
Right.
Now she's back and she's going to get revenge. But, you know, you still want to go see it because it just looks so cool.
I want to see the Pet Cemetery.
The
Oh,
new Pet Cemetery is supposed
looks
to be pretty good, right?
Yeah.
very
It's
frightening.
supposed to be great.
Did you
I
panic?
went to see the original in the theaters when I was like way too young to probably see that.
Did it terrify you?
No, not
Wasn't
really
that
the
much.
original, right? Like
Yeah.
it was like what, 89
Yeah.
or 88 or something? I was like 12 or something like that.
Yeah.
I vaguely remember I remember the book. I don't remember the movie as well.
When you got
Oh,
haunted
yeah.
animals,
I've read like every Stephen King book a million times.
haunted
Love-
animals is difficult to pull off because you do one wrong move and it's laughable,
Right?
right? When you have like haunted cats chasing you and stuff.
But saying that, like Cujo, I literally still to this day prepare myself for like being locked in my car because there's a killer dog outside. It's the weirdest thing. Like I carry like protein bars and like popcorn in my bag and like extra water in the car just because that book affected me so much. I was like, if my children and I ever get stuck in a car with a killer dog, I need to have water.
So
and
you're
snacks.
a survivalist except for killer dogs
Yeah,
instead of the
like
apocalypse.
totally supernatural
Right.
scenarios.
Where was the car in the book? I don't remember. Where was the car that they were
It was
so
like on a farm or something, and it was pre-cell phones,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
there was like the air conditioner was broken, and the kid ended up dying anyway.
So
Wow, that's right.
That
He's
book
so
was-
good. He's
oh,
good at isolating.
Stephen King?
Like in Gerald's
Amazing.
game, where they were playing that kinky sexual game, and the woman is tied up to the bed, and they're in the
Oh,
woods, and the
yes,
husband has
then
a heart
the
attack.
husband has a heart attack. Oh
And
my
she's
god!
just there tied
that
to
was
the
all
fucking cuff to the
short
bed.
Stories, right? Oh,
No, Gerald's game was a book, I think.
was that a book?
Yeah.
I thought it was short.
Yeah, and she's just laying there, and the door's open, and she's in the woods isolated, and her fucking dead husband's on. It's genius.
It's
he
terrifying.
is literally a master. He's a master.
You did 6 Resident Evil movies.
Yes.
And then the franchise is done.
Yes.
When you, after the 6th movie, because we were just talking about Steve Carell, it's probably not that dissimilar from him deciding that character is over. Is there any kind of panic that sets in going like, oh my God, like I don't know what life after Resident Evil.
Funny you should mention that because this goes straight back to The Office, okay?
Yeah.
Everything goes back to The Office.
Of course.
But literally, right before I got the offer for Hellboy, I was kind of going through a bit of a depression after the whole Resident Evil thing closed up because I was like, I felt like Jim Halpert. I was like, what am I going to do with all this useless information in my head? Like,
right.
You know, like I know so much about doing action. Like I can bring a lot to the table on an action movie. I have like 20 years of experience and like now it's done. So I was really happy when Hellboy came up. I was like, yes, I can finally like do my thing again. I'm like, yeah, use all this experience for something.
Right. Yeah, because you got trained in like everything for Resident Evil, right?
Yeah. I do so many stunts in those movies, you know, so it's a lot of physical training for that.
Do you end up on movie sets going like, is there kickboxing in this movie? Could we add kickboxing
well,
maybe?
Actually, it was the best of both worlds because my character in this movie, she's like more of an airbender than like an action kick butt girl. So it was awesome because I got to live my dream of airbending. You know, they never made a sequel to Last Airbender, and I was really upset because I really wanted to airbend and was hoping to be
What
in
is
the
airbending?
sequel. Airbending, well, you can't see it, but like it's like you like take the earth or water or whatever and then you just like manipulate it.
It's like DDP yoga.
Throw it.
Throw
And
the
it, like-
air?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, I do
or
that.
like water, like you shape it, and then you just like get it to like where it's like perfect, and then you like shoot it at somebody.
It's
Okay.
like
Or
shooting
like
gas
you
at
take
people.
the earth,
Yeah.
and then you just go like bam, and then the earth just like.
Jim was airbending before you came in the studio. I have to
Yeah.
ask you, Milla, when you walked in here this morning, and don't worry about being rude, was there any smells or anything that you were like, this studio is not the freshest? Or was it
No.
okay?
Well, I mean,
Be honest.
you know, I was at MTV yesterday, and
Uh-huh.
it wasn't the freshest either. So I
But
think,
this is not. It's not the
I
freshest.
mean, it's not like I walked in and I was like, "Wow, it's so refreshing here."
okay.
You know, I mean, it seemed like a place where people work in small rooms,
Right.
And
Sure.
you know, maybe it needs to be vacuumed a bit outside.
It's the back.
and-
It's the rug. It's the rug.
Jim,
Why? What's really going on?
the
here?
filtration system inside Jim's body is not the best.
They're blaming me because I passed a little gas.
Did you, Jim? Did you pass a little gas?
I passed a little gas. But it was a long
Okay,
time ago.
Okay,
It was
all
15
right.
minutes ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Yeah. That's neither
Well,
here
listen,
nor there,
I'm
though.
super happy I have this information.
Yeah, I
now.
just-
Well, we just
that's
didn't
what
want
he's
you to
getting at. I
feel awkward
apologize. Yeah.
if you smell something. You're like, maybe I won't say anything, or like you leave here going like, did you smell something? Like
Yeah.
we at Jim and Sam, we like
this is so much less awkward.
we like it to be
Yes.
on the table.
I mean, I'm telling you,
didn't
this makes
dissipate.
things so much
It
less
didn't
awkward.
dissipate at the rate I'd hoped.
You mean the gas?
Yeah.
I see.
Hey, your parents work for Brian De Palma, which I wanted to ask you. Do you still keep in touch with him, or do you not?
My parents were housekeepers for Brian De Palma.
Well, they
It's
still
not-
know him though. Did you like get to
I mean, not really. I was like the housekeeper's kid living off the garage. So
So when you started acting, you didn't connect with him and say, "Hey, it's me."
no.
Because were there multiple housekeepers and things like that?
No, it was my mom and dad. We were like living on site, and you know, but there was quite a lot. The house was being rented to lots of like movie stars and things. Like John Travolta stayed there, and my parents were housekeepers for him, and Christopher Reeve stayed there, and I like played with his son. Because I was like 6 at the time.
So is that why you were able to get into show business young? Because like it was fairly not attainable, but it wasn't this sort of mystery, you know? I think like a lot of kids look at TV and movies and stuff, and they're just looking at it going like, that's some other world over here. That's
Mind you, I didn't know who any of these people were.
you had no idea.
It didn't mean
'Cause I
anything
was
to
like
you. Yeah.
6.
Right.
You know, my parents knew, but definitely like none of them ever like gave me a break or anything like
Right.
that. you
No,
know?
I just meant like mentally in the sense that this happens to normal people because I know some of the people that it's happened to.
What? What's happened to you?
What?
Being an actor.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know some actors.
No, you knew actors before you became an actor.
I mean, my
So
parents worked for them.
Right,
It's
so,
kind of different from like knowing them. It's not like we came in and we're like, "What's up? How's it going? Can
Right.
you get me like a Diet Coke from the fridge?" Like,
They were like, no, that's actually your job.
Yeah.
You get the Diet Cokes from the fridge.
Did your parents like Brian De Palma?
you know, it's a funny story because my mom was a movie star in the Soviet Union in the 70s. So when she came to America with my father, she was like 28, like super gorgeous, super glamorous. And I think in the back of her mind, she kind of thought like, oh, yes, I'm like, quote unquote, the housekeeper. But as soon as he sees me, he's going to like tell me to put my tray down and like come sit down
Sure.
with the company.
Right.
And that didn't happen. So it was, you know, it was hard for me to see my mom like so disappointed, and you know, it definitely affected me. I ended up when I had my first big paycheck, I got her a Jaguar for her birthday.
Did she ever act in the States?
A little bit, and so she ends up seeing Brian De Palma at a gas station in her Jaguar with like these covers of magazines that I was on in her trunk. She's like, "Hello, Brian. So nice to see you." I mean, the fact that he even remembered, he probably didn't even remember her.
Like she's like trying to prove something, and he's
Yeah,
like, I don't know who this person is. Yeah.
Oh, you were the housekeeper. Great.
That's probably hard though
Cool.
to be if you're acting in the Soviet Union and then you come. It's kind of hard probably to change.
Well, because obviously her English wasn't great. And back in the we're talking like 1980, 1981, like it was all Russian spies or nothing, you know.
What kind of stuff did she do in the Soviet Union? Was she like on a soap on television? Was she movies?
Films and stage. Yeah. Shakespeare.
Man.
Have you gone back or have you gone
Theater. I've gone back quite a lot, mostly for work. Yeah.
to Russia?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Do you speak any or no?
Yeah. I speak Russian.
I figured you did because you did the accent pretty good.
Well, yeah, that's my mom.
So I figured
you
that,
know.
yeah.
But I speak Russian, and you know my kids speak Russian, so I really want to make sure that they remember their roots. And
When you found out you had to do a British accent for Hellboy, were you excited by this, or were you going like,
terrified?
Yeah.
Terrified, because obviously that's like a thing. That's like a rite of passage for an actor. Like everyone has to do a British accent at some point, and you got to kill it.
Right.
So, you know, for me, definitely that was like my stunt training on this movie.
Learning the
you
British
know?
accent.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was like, I spent like a few hours every day for months, like just going over the lines, over them, over and over and over and over, till I like had some semblance of comfort with everything.
What was was there like one word or something that was really hard to get?
Yes, there was like
Right.
all these like, and like sworn and like born.
Right.
It's like, and I'm doing it really horribly now.
Well,
but it's like,
you're.
born.
Did you?
So I would literally walk around doing that, born. Like people would be like, "Oh my God, shut the fuck up, you animal, stop it."
Because you also don't want to sound like a cartoon character, right? Like you don't want to
Right.
sound like it's a put on like ridiculous British accent.
Well, yeah. I mean, I worked with a great coach though, Vicky Hanlon, and she also worked with Sasha Lane, who's in the movie, and she was wonderful. But you know, anything you do, you just have to do it over and over and over again. Just
Did you take the British accent with you? Meaning, like when you weren't shooting, were you still speaking in the accent because you didn't want to lose it? Stop, Jim. You're not sounding British when you keep saying right. You keep saying the word right, and you don't sound British.
I'm working
and
on it.
It's not. It's not organic.
Don't shame me. Working on
You're
it.
right. I apologize. Right. But did you like? Were you afraid of losing it, or did you get to a place where you're so comfortable you could go in and out?
I wasn't speaking in normal life with the British accent because there was also like a thing when I got to set. There was like a couple of questions like, should it be a British accent or should it be something else? And I was like,
After
oh
you-
my God, I've been working for like 3 months every day on this British accent, and you might potentially change it. So yeah, there was like some conversations about that. Plus, you know, you pretty much like work all day and go home and drop dead asleep and
Right.
get up really early the next morning and work again. So it wasn't much time for like hanging out with people after.
Did they have you redo any takes? Like, did they go like, no, the accent was not right
Oh
there?
yeah. I mean, there was somebody on set that was always kind of just listening just to people's accents and stuff, which was
Born.
great.
That's really great,
Born.
actually.
Sworn.
You did it really good just
I
now.
know. Sworn and born.
I thought you were British for a second. I
Thank
was
you
like,
very
whoa,
much.
who's
Yeah, we
who's
should
that?
do a movie. 2 British people, we'll call it.
Yeah. So what's going on with Brexit, man?
A lot.
That's very, very good.
Thank you.
Are you worried at all, or is anybody with the movie worried at all about the hardcore fan base that's already built up from the last 2 movies? There are expectations attached to it.
Oh, definitely there are. You know, I love the original Hellboy movies for sure, and big fan. Actually, Ron Perlman and I just did a movie together. He's in Monster Hunter with me, so I was super happy about that. But at the same time, Mike Mignola, who created the comics, he was there on set. He helped write the script, so he was like very, very involved with the whole process. So I think fans are going to love this version of the movie because it really is so much closer to the original graphic novels, like tonally and character-wise. I think people will be very impressed with, the homages that we're paying to the graphic novels.
Want more Jim and Sam? Catch up with full episodes and interviews from celebrity guests anytime on demand using the SiriusXM app.